Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2, and today I'm going to be giving you part 5 of What If Naruto Was a Seal Master that created his own Sage Mode. Remember to get this one too 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform, and also if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, I indeed have 3 more channels which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. All of the links will be down in the description, so go ahead and obliterate that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And don't forget to turn on the bell notification to see when I post, because I do post a hell of a lot. So without further ado or wasting any more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode? Let us begin now, guys. So the last part that we left off, there has been some rumors going around the village about Naruto and his team, about all the accomplishments that they have accomplished, as Team 7 was building up to become the best genuine team out of all of them, as Ino finally found the person she was looking for, that was Sakura, as she wanted to know everything that was going on. Sakura thought it was just because Ino was a gossip queen, but that was not all. They both then saw Naruto with a beautiful girl clinging onto his arm, which immediately angered Ino. In that moment, Sakura realized something. Does Ino have a thing for Naruto, she wondered. As she did not tell Ino who the girl was, she was gonna have to find out herself. Although Sakura was using this, yes she was. She was using this to get some alone time with her Sasuke. If Ino took Naruto off her hands, it would be her and her Sasuke gone, so she was gonna milk the hell out of this and get what she wants. Ino was spying on Naruto sometime later, as we find Naruto situated in a field where he was working on a brand new seal that would revolutionize sealing completely. However, all he did was successfully burn his arm. As Ino finally revealed herself, their usual banter and back and front for a moment, before he noticed the changes that she has underwent, as he seemed to like it, which made her feel incredibly happy. Not to mention his compliments made her even more happy. A few weeks later, Team 7 found themselves in a bind, as Sasuke was viciously slammed into a wall. A man known as Suyin was trying to take over the waterfall village. Shibuki fought as best as he could, however he stood no chance. Kakashi had to return back to the village because of what was going on, as there was a big meeting, so Team 7 was left there to defend the village. Suyin thought that he defeated Naruto until Naruto stopped holding back. As Violet arrived, he told her to gather the others and make sure they were safe. With that, Naruto cut loose, releasing his sage energy. Suyin pushed out every last drop of power that was at his disposal, but it still wasn't enough. Naruto had become a completely different monster. As his attacks were too fast, his strength was too great. He demolished Suyin. He picked him apart like he was nothing. Even with Suyin being advanced and empowered by the hero water. While Hiruzen was still not quite sure if this was safe, there wasn't anything that he could say to not justify Naruto's actions. They were in danger, and he used it for a good reason, so there wasn't anything that he said about that. However, there was something big going on within the village. The reason why Kakashi was called back. It was the Chunin exams. happened across the nation every 6 months, and it was time. Kakashi signed Team 7 up as they made their way the day. They met up with the other Genins as they did the first tests. Once that was finished, they made their way off, their destination, the Forest of Death. Team 7 was easily able to get a scroll. With the three of them working together, it was pretty easy for them. With that said and done, Naruto had jumped in front of them as he absorbed the technique, using a seal that was connected to his chest that linked two spaces together as he sent away the blast. A very powerful wind attack. The person responsible landed as it was a woman. The next second, the ground erupted as a snake swallowed Naruto. Upon getting his bearings, Naruto freed himself, but instead of dying, the snake poofed away, which led him to believe that this was no ordinary individual. Naruto empowered himself with the sage energy as he took off at blinding speeds, heading towards the destination. Within the subconscious of his chakra and the energy twirling together, the darkness that Violet was not so fond of was smiling as it could feel Naruto's erratic emotions, and it was rather happy for them. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the place, check it out for yourself. So we'll begin this new episode, guys. He was more in tune with nature than ever before as he ran through the forest. Naruto could feel all the animals. It wasn't just the animals, he could feel all the insects, the tiny microscopic creatures moving through the foliage. He could feel everything, every single participant, covered in a purple glow, the aura swirling around him as he moved at incredible speed, zapping past trees and roots and branches. His mind only took 5 seconds to process what was going on when he arrived to the scene, and all hell broke loose. A few seconds earlier, Orochimaru had just bit down into Sasuke's neck as he branded him with a curse mark. Upon doing that, the Chunin retracted as Sakura was slowly picking herself up. She was bruised and scraped. Orochimaru smiled as he was about to say something when suddenly he snapped his head upwards. Boom! The force slammed into him like a train as Orochimaru was blasted through the forest. It was violent, terribly so. Him along with the force was blasted through as both of them were raking through the entire place, tearing everything to sunders. Sakura had saw the purple glow just for a brief second. As her mind wandered, it had to be Naruto. She heard a groan as she rushed over towards Sasuke, who was gripping at his neck, his eyes closed as he was in agony. It took a couple of seconds for him to pass out as she cradled him in her arms. A distance away, Orochimaru found himself in a compromising position. It's been a very long time since he's been hit that hard. A very, very long time. The Chunin pulled himself up, only to twist his head out of the way. The violent force that whipped past his head obliterated the tree behind him. Orochimaru finally got to his feet, flipping away as he landed on the branch. However, the next moment, he gripped his chest where he was hit as he felt pain coursing through him. The Chunin was confused, wondering what the hell had struck him like that, as his gaze focused downwards when he saw a fist in front of his face. Orochimaru twirled, but the fist, when stopped, released a strange pulse of energy. It was like a spiritual fist, as Orochimaru had dodged it, but yet the force crushed his cheek. He slammed through one of the giant trees in the forest, still out of it and shocked by what was going on. When he managed to look up in the sky, Orochimaru saw explosive tags. It was one at first before one turned into 100. The Chunin eyes widened The explosion was loud. Every single participant in the forest came to a stop as they felt the vibration and heard the sound rip through the entire place. It was dreadful, it was horrific, it was downright horrible. As everyone paused, feeling the sensation course through them as it tore through the earth, everything was shaking. A distance away, Orochimaru erupted out of the ground. As he was covered in slime, he wiped his face. Orochimaru was not pleased. He was forced to shed his skin. Whatever he was hit with, it momentarily affected him greater than he could ever think. And those explosives, they were not normal. They were more destructive than any paper bomb that he has ever come across. Not to mention they were packed with flames inside of it. Flames that were not from the explosion's flames to consume everything even after the blast went off. Whoever created those were truly a work of art. The Sannin then remembered Kabuto telling him about the young boy a part of Sasuke's team. It was a Jinchuriki who seemed to have a fascination in Fuinjutsu. So that was him, a child, forced him to shed his skin. His pride was taking a great hit right here, that a child would push him so far. Orochimaru felt something as he turned. This time he bent himself in an unnatural angle to evade the strike. However, as Naruto touched down on the ground, he smiled. The Sannin noticed a smile and it confused him for a moment. That is when he noticed the sealing tag on the ground. The next moment, Orochimaru was pulled down as Naruto activated the seal. The Sannin blinked and Naruto was in front of him. As Naruto reared his fist back, the power was dripping from him. As he pumped it into his fists, purple veins start to appear on the back of his hand. His arms start to be filled with veins. Naruto dropped it in the Sannin's face. There was a quake in the very ear itself as a force rippled outwards. Blood exploded out of Orochimaru's mouth. The Sannin mind was dazzled as he was thrown. As Naruto brought his hand up and activated the other seal, Orochimaru was yanked out of the ear. As Naruto turned and ran, he started to run away from the location. As he brought his hand together and activated the final seal, Orochimaru's eyes widened as he saw Chakra Fuinjutsu suspended in the ear. The boy had used his very chakra to draw these seals. It wasn't on a paper, it was simply suspended there. Orochimaru was shocked. Was the child truly this advanced, he thought, as his body was being pulled by the strange gravitational force. Orochimaru could see the depths of the seal and knew what they were. Immediately he fluttered through hand sign. Boom! As Naruto was running away, he crossed his arms. The explosion was nothing normal. A large section of the forest was completely enveloped. Everything was swallowed in this area, turning the once serene forest into a cannon. It was wide. The explosion had ripped out a chunk of the earth. Naruto had pumped a lot of his chakra into that. It even got him taking a breath. As slowly but surely the sage energy faded away from him. As Naruto stood there, Sannin or not, there was no way that he could survive that. No possible way. As Naruto calmed himself down, once again he pulled upon the energy as his body was infused with it. However, there was a problem. If Orochimaru had died in a blast, there would be residue of his chakra, particles in the ear, something to show him that His body had been destroyed, but Naruto was picking up on absolutely nothing. How the hell did he survive? Well, he wasn't here anymore though, Naruto thought to himself, as he rushed off to find Sakura and Sasuke. A far distance away from the hidden leaf, a snake arrived at the snake cave. The snake body was toasted. It was mangled. Orochimaru had counted on this, as there was nothing to reverse summon him back to the snake land except for the snake being too damaged and purposely returned back home. The attack was too fast for him to give out orders. He just had a brief moment. His pride was shattered. Humiliation started to slam into him. A child almost claimed his life. He let his guard down, and the Fuinjutsu caught him off guard. However, as he crawled out of the snake, his jaw was just healing. It had been completely shattered. Everything, all of his teeth, had been removed by that punch. A little more up and his face would have been knocked off probably. The last time he felt someone hit him that powerful was Tsunade Senju. As this boy was able to use his chakra, no, that wasn't chakra. There was no possible way. The sensation was completely different. What energy was that? Was it the power of the Nine Tails? No, that wasn't it either. The Nine-Tail energy was dark and corrupted. Perhaps the boy has found a way to purify it. He was incredibly advanced in Fuinjutsu. Maybe he did the impossible. Orochimaru found himself stunned and his pride greatly damaged and hurt. To being defeated like that, forced to run away. He cursed himself for letting his guard down, as the sensation was something that he hated. He didn't like it. To be knocked around, to be toiled around and used, and forced to flee the area like some snake. The Sannin clenched his fists as he got back to his feet. However, despite his humiliation though, his interest was piqued. He liked to know more about this boy. Every single detail. He thought to himself. Time skip. Finding Sakura was pretty easy. Sasuke on the other hand, as Naruto did not know how to help him. Violet had just recently left. That meant she was resting. He did not know how to heal others. He could heal himself rather well, but he did not know how to heal others that well. He tried, but what was inflicting Sasuke was not a physical wound. This mark that Orochimaru branded him with, it wasn't normal. Naruto placed a hand on Sakura's hand. See no concern she was as he smiled at her. If anyone can get through this, it's Sasuke. That assured her as it seemed to make her lighten up a bit. As she released a heavy breath, it had taken some of the stress off her shoulders. Unfortunately though, Orochimaru had spoke to the Sound team before he had entered the forest, and they had a goal, and that was to kill Sasuke Uchiha. Reasons unknown. They were simply doing as they were told. However, the Sannin was not here to advise them otherwise. They had no idea what the hell they were walking into. It did not take too long when the time finally came, as they were watching and hiding. However, Naruto was quite aware of them. Wait, you can't go there alone, Sakura said. She looked towards Sasuke, who was still out of it. She wanted to help. As Naruto took her hand as she was trying to stop him, as he looked towards her. There's nothing to worry about. I'll be just fine. We can't leave Sasuke here alone. I'm trusting you to take care of him, said Naruto. Can you do that, he asked. Sakura nodded, of course she could. I'll handle the rest. With that, Naruto stepped outside. It was at that moment that Team 10 arrived on the scene as they hunkered down. Shikamaru not wanting them to give away their position. Look, it's Naruto, Choji said as he saw him step out of the broken tree that was on its side. Naruto? Ino said. As Naruto stood there, 3 menacing ninjas in front of him. 2 boys and 1 girl. The leader of this little ragtag group was Dosu, his partner in crime Zaku, and the girl was known as Kin. I have to ask, did you know that we were out here? Zaku said. Naruto nodded his head. Huh, so you're an idiot then, choosing to come out on your own. Well, the world is balanced, because given my intellect, someone had to be an idiot, he said. Enough talking, Dosu said. Give us the Uchiha. So you want Sasuke? Why? That's none of your concern, said Kin. Now give us the Uchiha before we have to mess up that pretty little face of yours. There was a cracking sound to the right as they all glanced over towards it. It was probably some rodent or something. Shikamaru was glaring at Ino, who had snapped a twig that she had in her hand for some reason. As she quietly discarded the pieces. That girl pissed her off. We have to do something, Ino said. We can't make Naruto fight them all on his own. Shikamaru was at a crossroads, as he should help a comrade, as Naruto was a Konoha ninja after all. He wasn't well in tune with the guy. They knew each other from the academy, but they weren't really friends. But that had nothing to do with it. He was a comrade, and that is what comrades do for one another. However, what was said next surprised them. I'll give you 1 chance. Only one, said Naruto, holding out a finger. Leave now, and I will consider not stopping you. Naruto said. Zaku burst out laughing. Even King started to chuckle as well. Dosu, on the other hand, he remained as docile and as quiet as usual. This guy is really a joker, isn't he? Zaku said, giving us an ultimatum. Well, the thing is, to have that kind of talk, you have to be strong. So, he said, stepping forward, let me show you why. What you were saying doesn't really make any sense. Remember, I warned you, said Naruto. Yeah, Zaku said, holding up his hands. Dosu's eyes snapped towards the ground as he jumped upwards. However, not even his fast reaction was able to prevent him from getting captured. The ground itself erupted. The trees connected to the ground as all of them noticed a glowing blue mark, Fuinjutsu. They connected together and locked. Earth fused into wood, locking together, merging into one another, creating a perfect cage, trapping all 3 of them inside of it. Zaku immediately raised his hand and fired a very vicious attack towards the bars, intending on breaking out the bars that were made from stone. However, when the attack hit, the bars trembled. But what followed was rather shocking. It seemed like they absorbed all the attack. Shouldn't have done that, said Naruto, as he brought his hand up. Release. All of the force that he just released slammed into all 3 of them in the very compact and tight situation. The force was chaotic upon them as they were all viciously slammed together. Naruto has been working on a lot of new seals lately, and this was one of them. He called it an environment prison seal. With these seals, he could mark any part of the environment that he wanted to use to imprison his opponents, depending on the structure of the location and if it was rather fitting. Naruto had drawn up seals the moment that him and Sakura came here, so these guys came in unprepared, not expecting this. But that wasn't all though. Now, said Naruto, I'm gonna give you 1 minute to tell me why you came after Sasuke. We aren't telling you shit, Zaku said. You're gonna pay for what you did. Fine, said Naruto. He reached into his coat and pulled out a simple tag. He threw it underneath before bringing his hand up and activating said tag. That is when the tag imploded and started to burn. It was a simple campfire seal. The problem was, this prison seal was highly conductive. Therefore, all that heat was not being sent one place. It was being produced all over. Slowly but surely they started to sweat. I'll give it 15 minutes. 15 for what, Zaku said. Before you're all cooked alive, said Naruto. Now, tell me why you were after Sasuke. Kin was being affected greatly as she looked around frantically. Don't. Dosu said, knowing that if they were to spill, if she even spill, all of them were dead. There must be something else that you want, our scroll. Something. Or they have a scroll. Dosu glared at him. As Zaku started to drop, as the flames started to burn the air, it was getting hard to breathe. While the box was completely open, the cage that they were locked in. The seal was rather conductive, therefore all the heat was being pushed in, and the oxygen was being pushed out slowly. As Naruto gazed towards them, is this because of the curse mark? Tell me, are you three working for Orochimaru? What? Curse mark, Dosu said. The cursed mark that he placed on Sasuke. From what I've seen, it's very complex and powerful. I would try to remove it, but I fear if I try to do so while it's in this process, it would end up killing Sasuke. So, I will have to let it be until it's done. But I'm sure that Sasuke is gonna pull through. There's no way that you will fail to that damn mark. You mean he gave him a mark? Ah, so you knew about it, said Naruto. Dosu was not understanding. Why would Orochimaru send them to kill the Uchiha if he branded him with his mark? Was this a setup? For the Uchiha to test the power on them? It had to be. Dosu dropped to one knee. He was sweating like a dog. Fine. He was the one that sent us. Now that's easy, said Naruto. But given the look from your gaze, I can tell that not even you knew about the mark that meant. Your own master set you up to die. Dosu tried to reach up, however his hand was blocked. There was a reason why the ear was being cut so short. There was a layer of chakra there, powered by Naruto's own chakra. That is why all the oxygen was being burnt out, as nothing was coming in from the outside. Dosu dropped down. The burning sensation was horrific, but they could no longer sustain themselves. Breathing capacity. As Naruto held his hand up and released, throwing a tag out in the process as all three of them were dragged and slammed against a tree nearby. Before Naruto could say a word, a violent power surge erupted. Something was not right. Sakura. Naruto heard her voice as he rushed toward the tree. Team 10 was still there, having realized that Naruto did not need their help. Inside, Naruto saw Sakura backing away. Sasuke, she said, trying to stop him and calm him down, but he was just walking, not looking at her. When he finally stepped into the light, Naruto saw the markings on his skin. Naruto blitzed in front of him. Sakura's eyes widened as Naruto buried his fist in Sasuke's gut. The Uchiha eyes widened before he started to collapse. Naruto caught him. Naruto, why did you do that? Sakura shouted at him. Calm down, said Naruto. He was not in the right state of mind. But now that the process is over, I'll make sure that he's just fine. I'll have to examine it for later, but now, a simple EVA containment seal should do. Naruto started to go through hand sign as he placed his hand right over the mark. His eyes were closed. Sakura noticed a purple view that covered his hands. Just as I thought, Naruto said without opening his eyes. He then pulled out a brush and ink out of his pouch as he started to write them on Sasuke's neck first. "Help me, would you?" said Naruto. Sakura felt a bit flushed as she helped Naruto take off Sasuke's shirt. However, she kept her composure. Drawing the seals on Sasuke, Naruto activated as Sasuke squirmed. But the next moment he was breathing easily. "Alright," said Naruto, as he pulled out a paper and threw it. He then threw another one. Two massive rock golems were summoned. One of them made their way toward the sound team. It opened its large mouth as it started to swallow them one by one. As its stomach area showed all of them inside unconscious. The other one picked Sasuke up. "Let's get going," he said, as he held his hand out and helped Sakura to her feet. "You know, if you guys want to tag along, we wouldn't mind." Sakura was confused who he was talking to. "I know you're there. You might as well show yourself. Do you already have your scroll?" "Well, given the location that you are going, I presume that you do." Team 10 proceeded to rear their head. "Tell me, was it from the first noise that you hear?" Shikamaru asked. "Nope. I knew the moment you guys landed," said Naruto. "What are you doing with them?" Ino interrupted. As Naruto glanced over, "I'm gonna bring them to the Hokage. What else?" "Why? Let's just say they're working for someone very dangerous." "Enough talking, let's go." With that, they made their way off. Time skip. There was a new property with the golem that was now keeping them asleep every time they seemed to be gaining consciousness, as the others didn't seem to notice. Aruka Mino was confused as he was summoned when he saw two groups instead of one. However, surprised that two groups would team up in an exam like this. But a part of him was actually proud that it was two Konoha teams that first came up with this idea. However, he then noticed the others. What's going on? Sasuke had woken up sometime on their way there, having no recollection of waking up with a curse mark. As Naruto did him a favor. "I need to speak to the Hokage." Aruka looked at Naruto. Not his most conventional student, but a very smart kid. He was confused. "Naruto, tell me what's going on," he said. "I have some information on Orochimaru of the Chunin." Everyone was surprised to hear that, except for Sakura and Sasuke, of course. "What? How?" Naruto pointed towards the three of them. Time skip. Because of Chunin exam laws, the Hokage wasn't allowed to intervene during this section. It might seem as biased to his own village, and there was no one that should be intervening within the exams, as the Hokage himself wasn't even above this rule. However, Naruto did not stay there alone. The proctor from the first exam, Ibiki, was the one that came to sit down with him, having already spoken to the other two, as he got their rough estimation of what had happened. Naruto told him about the fight between himself and Orochimaru. Ibiki was finding it a rather difficult session to believe, in terms of Naruto making the Chunin run for his life. However, the child would have no reason to lie, and given the kind of man that Orochimaru was, if this was not truthful, this child would have been dead. Taking on the Chunin alone was a death sentence, even for someone like him. So hearing that, and all the evidence that the child had put forward, he took the Sound members, as he placed them within Konoha custody for interrogation on knowing what their deal was with the Chunin and what was going on. Word was sent to Hiruzen, as he was retold everything by Ibiki, who came to the office to speak to him. Hiruzen was glad that no one was harmed during the attack, as he dispatched a team to search the forest, just in case. However, they came across nothing. He was also told about Sasuke's mark, but according to the kid Naruto, he was able to seal it off. Hiruzen was not surprised by that, giving Naruto vast and depth knowledge in Fuinjutsu. When the time finally came, all of them were gathered, as a lot of Konoha teams had made it. Surprisingly though, a team from the rain had also made it as well. They seemed to be the lucky one. The sand team was here as well. Hiruzen gaze flickered towards Naruto, who seemed to be doing well, except for the bags under his eyes. It seems like he didn't get enough sleep. As the reins were handed over to Hayate, Naruto wasn't really paying attention as he simply followed the crowd. You seem rather sleepy, the voice whispered as Naruto turned. Sensei, Sakura said. Kakashi's eyes smiled at her. Well, I didn't get much sleep for the entire 5 days, Naruto said, rubbing his eyes. You knew that you had an important exam to do, and yet you purposely chose to stay up. You know that is a sign of self-harm, right? What I was doing was more important. More important than your Chunin exams. Way more important, said Naruto. Violet had arrived hours after. They had arrived here. Violet also helped him with something big that he was working on. The first match was actually Sasuke, as Naruto was now just realizing. Kakashi was watching. Because of the seal that Naruto placed on Sasuke, the curse mark was not bothering him, not at all. Sasuke demolished his opponent that was trying to drain his chakra. Matches after matches went on down there, as Naruto's name was called. He was going up against Kiba Inuzaka, calmly making his way down there, as Naruto found himself standing across from Kiba. Kiba had a smirk on his face. You might as well give up now, because I don't really know how much I can hold back, he said with a smirk. It's over, Kurenai thought to herself. She has been hearing some things about this boy, but there is no way that he would stand up against Kiba. Naruto blinked and looked at Kiba. Sorry, I think I fell asleep there, he said. What? Kiba said. Don't mess with me, Naruto, he said. Oh yeah, you were in the academy with me, right? Kiba blinked. You say that like you forgot me. I don't really focus that much on people's faces. So should we get this over with? There's a lot that I have to do. Mainly get some sleep. As you can see, I'm really exhausted. Fine, Kiba said. I'll humiliate you then. Remember, I gave you a chance to bow out. As the match began, Kiba charged forward, Akamaru running by his side as they separated. It seems like they were going to attack Naruto from the left and the right. As Kiba got close, everyone wondered if Naruto was not going to defend himself. Kiba swung as Akamaru jumped. At the last moment, Naruto lashed out and touched Kiba's arm. Kiba felt a strange sensation, as Naruto had a Fuinjutsu marker in his palm. Naruto then released Kiba and turned. Kiba blinked in confusion as he swapped places with Akamaru. What the hell? Kakashi gazed focused on the puppy's feet, where he had stepped on the ceiling tag that Naruto dropped earlier. Many had not even noticed. The problem was, the moment Kiba swapped places, Naruto's fist slammed into his face like a train. His body swung in the air. He slammed into the wall as Naruto appeared in front of him. Naruto reared his fist back before driving it forward. Boom! Many cracks exploded in the wall, smoke coming from it. Kiba, who was just knocked pretty hard, started to realize that was almost his head, and he was shocked as Naruto had a hand on his chest. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you that badly. I was wondering something about my physical strength, Naruto said, releasing Kiba as he started to walk away. The problem was Kiba wasn't out. This time though, Kiba charged forward as his features started to gain more animalistic. He's good, Kurenai thought. However, turning your back on Kiba is a really stupid idea. As Kiba jumped forward, Naruto raised his hand as Kiba slammed into the ground. Akamaru tried to charge Naruto, but Naruto simply weaved away from the dog and hit it right at the side of the head as the puppy crashed to the ground. Kiba could not move. What the hell? Trying to compare our chakras is like comparing an ocean to a small stream. Maybe in the ocean. That seal that I put on your chest is weighting you down, and my chakra is a conduit of what is causing it. You can't overwhelm my chakra, so you might as well give up, said Naruto, as he showed the seal on his arm that was glowing, using his chakra to do so. Kiba cursed as he cursed. Unable to get up, Akamaru barking towards him. Realizing that the match was over, the proctor jumped down and decided to call it, as Kiba pride wouldn't let him give up. But it did not matter, it seems, because he already lost. Naruto did not seem to take pride from this, as he simply made his way up there. Ino went against Kankuro, making her way down, as she gazed up to see that Naruto was watching her. When the match began, she went straight for the offensive, trying to take him down before pulling out her special move. Ino was faster and stronger as well. Asuma was smiling, taking pride in the girl's work. She had been pushing herself recently, and she's come a rather long way, as she started out by trying to get him with shurikens and kunais, but Kankuro was rather flexible, as Naruto stood there and watched. He was watching her, finding her movements rather interesting. It isn't much in this life that he found interesting, so this was a compliment. However, Kankuro was special. He was faster, stronger, not in physical ways, well, kind of, but Naruto could tell that whoever that was wasn't human. His sensory ability had gotten to the point where he could feel the chakra, and if he closed his eyes he could almost see it, which was odd considering that his eyes are closed. He decided to put trust and faith in her. As he watched, Ino tried to take over his mind, but she received a harsh, brutal kick. Ino slammed in the wall confused. He attacked her with a ferocity, punches and blows before he grazed her arm with a knife that appeared out of his hand. Slowly his face started to chip away as he revealed it to be a puppet. The real Kankuro was in the bindings on the ground. He smirked as he revealed himself. Many confused why would he give up a ploy like that when it could have guaranteed his victory. However, Naruto noticed something as Ino dropped to one knee. What did you do to me? You have around 20 seconds to give up. That is when the toxin will kick in. Toxin? As he looked towards her hand. Don't you remember, he said, recalling the scratch that she felt. Bastard, Ino said. I am more than ready to watch you die. If you want the antidote, he said as he waved it in front of her. Give up. Ino struggled as she tried to get back up. She didn't want to go out like this. She wanted to prove to her team, prove to her sensei, and also prove to Naruto that she has actually been working hard, that she's been training. She tried to get back up, however, her body was failing her. Wow, aren't you a stubborn one, Kankuro said. You know, my poison is no joking manner. You should give up before you die. That word once again, it triggered something inside of him. Everyone heard it as they turned. Kakashi blinked as he looked towards Naruto. The metal railing. Yes, you heard that right. The metal railing. Naruto had banged it with his bare hands. Kakashi then noticed the markings in his face. Subconsciously started to spread. However, they weren't purple. They were black. Kakashi quickly placed a hand on his shoulder. You need to calm down, he said, having flashbacks off the bridge. The proctor was about to call it as Ino was in no condition to fight, and it was imperative that she get that antidote before he could even take a step. Naruto was standing there. Kankuro blinked in shock and confusion, as he no longer had the antidote in his hand. Even Kakashi was surprised. Kneeling down towards her, as Naruto flipped her over, he injected the thing right into her. As Naruto's eyes, they were dark. The color was just dark, no blue. Ino slowly stirred as she released a breath, like she was finally able to breathe. The proctor landed there as well. Uzumaki, I am the proctor here, he said. You had no standing in getting involved. However, Naruto did not respond. Ino finally opened her eyes as she saw Naruto. Naruto? His hand came out and rested on her cheek. As Naruto simply looked at her, but she passed out in his arms once again. That is when Violet suddenly arrived. Violet looked rather concerned. She rushed up to him, as many people were confused. Father, she said, rather loudly, shocking people even more, as Hiruzen was starting to become cautious of the situation. Father! Father! As Naruto blinked and looked at her, you have to calm down. Violet saw Ino as she thrust her hands out. Ino was covered in a purple bubble. As she was healed, her eyes snapped open as she looked around, surprised that she was in Naruto's arms. She thought that was a dream, but here she was in his arms. As Naruto himself seemed rather confused. Are you alright? He asked. I'm fine. Did you... She looked up towards the railing. Why didn't you give up? Said Naruto. She looked rather defeated. I wanted to prove. To me? Said Naruto. No, not just you, she said. To myself. That my training had paid off. But I guess I wasn't strong enough. You know, you can be a real dumb blonde sometimes. What? She yelled at him. As Naruto looked at her, she saw a strange look in his gaze. Of course your training paid off, said Naruto. You're far stronger than before, because now you're actually putting in the work. And it will pay off even more in the future. However, remember this. Your life is precious. And you should never put your pride in front of that. So don't put your life in such jeopardy again. He said to her, as he looked rather concerned. It was strange. Seeing that she was, the mere thought that she would die, his body moved on its own. He felt such rage, because for a moment he thought the antidote wasn't going to work, but she was alright. Guess I'll just have to train harder, Ino said. Till the day I kick your ass. As Naruto chuckled, finally smiling, showing a much calmer side. If you think that reality is possible, I guess you're not right in the head, jackass, she said to him. She then realized that she was still in his embrace. As he helped her up back to her feet, Naruto then started to walk, not taking stock of anything around him. Let me guess, you're about to threaten me for your girl, Kankuro asked. Ino was about to say something, but Naruto spoke first. No, he said. I would never have interrupted her battle, because I don't think that she's weak. Nor do I think that she needs my help. However, she's just really stubborn, and the two of you are fighting as ninjas. And that is what she is, said Naruto. So I'm not gonna threaten you. However, if you had taken things a bit too far, said Naruto, as he walked, so Kankuro alone could hear him, I would have killed you, and killed everyone you love. As Naruto walked past him, Kankuro felt a chill run down his spine. Naruto himself was confused where that came from, as Violet landed on his shoulder, and he felt rather calm once again. Are you okay, father? She asked. Yeah, I'm just fine. Wait, father? Ino said. Hey, it's you. It's me, Violet said. No, I mean, you're the girl that... No, that can't be. You were... Violet poof as she turned into her adult form. Like this, she said, as she posed with a smile. But you called him father. Naruto looked towards Ino. That's a very long story. I'll tell you about it some other time, said Naruto. Time skip. As the preliminaries finally came to an end, Sakura was the only one on Team 7 that did not make it, as she went head to head with one of the Rain Ninjas, and it was actually a double knockout. That was still pretty good that she didn't get completely defeated. With the matches coming to an end, they had to draw a number for the finals. The first match was Temari versus Shikamaru Nara. The second match was Naruto versus Neji Hyuga. The third was Kankuro versus Shino, and Sasuke versus Gaara. Those were all that were set up for the finals, as a lot of members had dropped out. During this round, they were given 1 month to train and prepared. Naruto and his team was summoned to the office, where they once again retold the story from top to bottom, on the events leading up to the Sannin and everything. Kakashi would be taking Sasuke as Hiruzen told Naruto that he had someone for him, the person that he has been telling him about for some time now. Naruto already had a good idea on who he was talking about. Time skip. A day passed, as Hiruzen had gave Naruto locations on where to meet the man. At the hot springs. Of all the places. Well, he didn't know much about the man, but he did hear some small rumors. And if they were true, well, this was a perfect place for him to be. Calmly making his way through the streets, as Naruto arrived. The man was not in the male section. However, upon closer inspection he heard some giggling, and he found the man hunched up in a tree, peeping towards the female section of the bath. When he should be here helping him, here he was, deciding to have a little fun. A lot of his time has been occupied lately with seals and other things. The branch broke. The man fell down with his binoculars and his notebook. All the girls came running out as he tried to move. However, he looked down and saw the Fuinjutsu marking. That little shit, he said. The girls saw the evidence and proceeded to beat the living crap out of him. Sometime later, wow, you're not looking so good, said Naruto. So it was you, huh? Jiraiya said, gazing towards Naruto who stood there. I presume the Hokage told you about me and my certain quirks. Because if you are Jiraiya of the Sannin, you are also a seal master as well. You say that like you are a seal master. But you're just a brat, he said. Although, that was a good gravitational seal. You made it specific towards the area that you wanted to pull down, and me being on top of it. I needed to fluctuate my chakra in a certain pattern or simply override it. Have to say, that's pretty good for a brat. What else can you do? Oh, I can do a lot more. But I'm sure you're not here for this. You're here for the main event. Naruto said as he started to draw on the power of the Sage mode. Jiraiya stood there in shock and awe. So, it's really true, huh? Didn't you believe your own sensei, said Naruto. Yeah, I did, but just seeing it. It's rather shocking, I mean, kid, do you have any idea what you've managed to accomplish? What you've done should be impossible, but you've done it. What can I say? I'm a man that breaks the boundary between possible and impossible, said Naruto. Huh. I guess you are, said Jiraiya, as he started to examine the nature energy. And you have no problem harnessing this energy? No, quite fine, said Naruto. In fact, Naruto closed his eyes. Violet appeared. Father, she said, throwing her arms around him. You call for me. I hope you were not sleeping, said Naruto. Nope. I was going to come here anyway, she said with a smile. And who is that, said Jiraiya. She's the essence of the nature energy. Her name is Violet, said Naruto, and she's my daughter. Jiraiya blinked. Wait, are you saying that you created a sentient being of pure energy, and your sage mode is not just practical? Exactly. Jiraiya started to gush, as this kid was far beyond anything that he would have ever expected. Do the kid really had any idea what he has accomplished? What he has done? They spend the rest of the day with Jiraiya trying to understand the workings behind the sage mode, and in doing so he spoke to Violet. It's been a long time since he's been all serious, but for this he had to be all serious. As Jiraiya learned a lot, from what he could see it was not harmful in any way. In fact, it helped him, more ways than one. Not only was it a major boost to his power and strength when he needed it, but it also empowered him as well. And unlike normal sage mode, it grants him rays of abilities. And it was truly shocking. The Chunin was having a difficult time wrapping his head around it. While not having said that he had taken Naruto on as a student yet, he found himself truly intrigued. Violet also had some questions for him, as she would like to know about the sage energy that he harnessed. The strange part about it was the moment Jiraiya started to talk about it, she knew, as she said that she's came across it before. She then had a strange look on her face that wasn't one of joy, which was odd for her. Is something wrong, Naruto asked. There's something I have to check on, she said. I'll see you later, father. You too, old man. As she went away. So she just poofed in and out, said Jiraiya. Her realm is right between ours, said Naruto, as the both of them sat in the canopy. I have to say, I never expected a brat to blow my mind like this. Not only have you taken the art of Fuinjutsu to surprising levels, you've done the impossible. That is why I'm here to give you the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to become my pupil. You want to take me on as a student? You, the legendary pervert, the sage, Naruto said. Jiraiya nodded his head. I'll think about it. Jiraiya blinked. What the hell is there to think about? You'll be learning under me personally, the gallant of Mount Miyaboku, Jiraiya, the super pervert, he said. As Naruto started to laugh at his antics, finding them rather funny. Well, I'll become your pupil, as long as you answer one question for me. Sure, what is it, brat? Was Minato Namikaze my father? Naruto's eyes flashed purple, as Jiraiya flinched just slightly. As Naruto started to chuckle, despite the Chunin not saying anything. I knew it, said Naruto, turning his gaze outwards. What? I didn't need you to say anything, said Naruto. My sage energy amplified my senses to unbelievable levels. So I already know what the answer is. I always thought there was similarities, not to mention with him sealing the 9 tails inside of me. Something I've known for some time now, but I figured there was no big deal after all. It's not like he's here now. I'm curious though. Who's my mother, said Naruto. From what I've seen, my father was never married. Don't tell me I was a bastard, said Naruto. Jiraiya looked at him. Come on, I already know, just spill it. The Chunin was quiet for a while, as he released a breath. The kid wasn't hassled or anything, he was calm. I'm not saying that I say anything about that particular subject, but, well, not everyone has to marry in the public eye. Oh, I see, said Naruto. Well, I guess they were married secretly. Given my father's stature, I can understand. Let me guess. You're going to talk to the Hokage, so you guys can come to an understanding on telling me everything, despite the fact that I already know. Well, good luck with that. Considering though, that my father was Minato, and you were a sensei, I would take it that you were rather close to my family. Well, I guess you'll tell me about that tomorrow, huh? Don't worry. I'm not someone to keep grudges. Well, unless I do. Guess we'll just have to find out tomorrow, huh? With that, Naruto made his way off, leaving Jiraiya, heading to the office to speak to Hiruzen. Meanwhile that was going on, I know you're here! Violet shouted out as she stood between the intersection of purple and dark. She wouldn't step into the darkness. Show yourself, she said. That is when she heard laughter. Now, dear sister. Why do you have to be so loud? As this was the first time Violet was actually seeing him. She felt him, but this was the first time she built enough courage to see him because he was doing something very, very dangerous. After meeting the Sani and Jiraiya, she now knew a lot more as he finally revealed himself. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.